And hello again, and here we are back in my drive with my Kawasaki Z650B restoration project. Now at the end of the last episode it was all doom and gloom because I could not get the bike running on all four cylinders. And I think the problem lies with one carburettor. So I took the carbs off yet again, took that carb off the bank, dismantled it, checked it yet again, cleaned it, put it back together again, put it back on the bike, and all that work made no difference at all. So I was at a real loss as to what the problem might be. So since then I have gone to my friend Liz's workshop where I've collected the carbs from my other Z650, the F2, the green F2, and I've checked them out. They look pretty clean. I've not modified them in any way, I've not taken them apart, I've just put them straight on the bike. So the carbs on the bike right now are from my F2, and the carbs here in my hand are the original carbs from the B. And number one carburetor here is the one that's causing all the problems. So that's going to go in the box here for the time being. So now I'm going to see if I can get the bike started on all four cylinders with these different carbs. So my hopes aren't too high because I haven't checked out these carbs at all. They're just whatever came off the bike when I got it like 2 or 3 years ago from Mike. Although that said, I have taken the float balls off these F2 carbs and had a look at the jets, and they're already clean, so that's a good sign. So who knows, perhaps these carbs will work well on my engine, but I'm not getting my hopes too high. So now I'm going to hook up a fuel supply to these carbs for the first time and we'll see what happens. And so now I'm just running fuel down into the carbs and we'll soon see if this engine will fire up. By the way, I'm not using my label mic at the moment because it's causing me all kinds of problems. It seems to be, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, so we'll have to make do with this for the time being. Right, so I need both hands for this, so I'm going to put the microphone just behind the bike, and hopefully if it fires up well you'll hear it in full stereo. So let's see what happens now. Choke on. There it goes. Let's see what happens. Double fingers crossed. I think it's running on all four cylinders. Let me check. Yeah. Wow. I think it's running okay now. Number one pipe is now getting hot for the first time ever. Will it get warm now? Wow. I am surprised, very surprised. It sounds okay as well. So these carbs haven't been taken apart yet, haven't been cleaned, I haven't touched them, apart from taking off the float balls, as I say, and just checking that the jets are clear, which they are. And now the engine's running fine after all that hard work, after all that hassle with these carbs. I don't know. But it does make the point that the problem lies with these carbs here with one carb. Actually, I think I need to raise up a little bit. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Wow, I am very, very happy with that. I'm actually quite surprised how loud this Delcovic exhaust system is, even though it's got the baffle in. God knows how loud it'll be if I took the baffle out. So that is pretty surprising to say the least. I didn't expect that. Well, so yeah, it does prove the point that my problem has always been this number one carb, which will not feed fuel into number one cylinder. So as soon as I fitted these carbs, then everything works fine. Wow, that's surprising. That really does surprise me. So that then leads to the question, what on earth's going on with my number one carb? And why isn't it working? It's clean, everything's sorted out as far as I can tell, and yet it's not working. It's not sort of lifting the fuel from the float ball and putting it into the carb, and I don't know why. So I think what we'll do with these carbs is I'll take them apart yet again, take off number one carb, and go and take it to my friend Les's workshop, because he's a real expert when it comes to these old Kawasaki's, and maybe he'll be able to see something wrong with the carb that I can't see. If not, then I guess I'm going to have to buy a new set of carbs, because these carbs, I would like to keep them on the bike, of course, because they work, but I can't, because these have to go on the Green F2 in a few weeks' time, ready for that build to be finished. So yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum. You can actually buy these used carbs. They're about £150, 180, something like that. But then if you buy them, no doubt they'll need cleaning, taking apart, perhaps a new rebuild kit. You know, that's about £100, and it's just more and more expense. It's a pity I can't keep these carbs and put these dodgy carbs on the F2, but I can't do that. Right, so that was a real surprise, and I'm very, very happy. So yeah, I think perhaps my next step is going to be to take this dodgy carb to my friend Les's workshop, and as I say, get him to look it over when he has time. Well, that was actually a real surprise. And it actually sounds quite good, doesn't it? It sounds a bit louder than I expected. Right, so that's really the last real problem I've got with the engine. We now know it runs okay, oil light goes out, everything's fine. But I am currently working on something else. As you might be able to see, there's something missing here. The front brake has been removed. There's the brake line. And that's because I tried to bleed the brakes the other day, but when I took off the cover from the master cylinder, inside was just this brown, horrible gunge, sort of slime, just dried out brake fluid, I guess. So I took it off, cleaned it all out, put it in my like cleaner, and I'm just about to rebuild it with a rebuild kit, because it's a Brembo item, very common. I think it's called a PS13, so I'm just about to rebuild it. When I finished, I'll get it back on the handlebar, and I'll bleed the brakes, and that should be another job finished. And in fact, I'm running out of work now. I'm running out of work because I've pretty much done everything that I want to do, except of course those carbs can't stay on the bike. They've got to go on my Green F2. And so now here we have the master cylinder and its components fresh out of my ultrasonic cleaner. There's still a bit of staining here on the inside, but there's not much we can do about that. I don't think it will cause a problem. So I also have here the PS13, so-called the PS13 Brembo rebuild kit for this front brake master cylinder, and it's actually a lot better than I expected. I thought perhaps I'll just get, you know, new seals and maybe a new rubber boot, but no, you get pretty much everything you need. You get a new piston as well, a new spring and so on. So I'm quite impressed with that. Now this little box wasn't that cheap. It was something like £19.95, but then again, anything from Brembo tends to be quite expensive. And now here it is rebuilt. That was very straightforward, very simple. Nothing to worry about, just changing out the old parts for the new. So now let's get that back on the bike and hopefully get the brakes bled, and that's another job completed. And so now the front brake's back on the handlebars, and I'm just going to try and bleed it. Just introduce the fluid very carefully. This stuff will strip off paint, no problem, so be so careful with it. I've got all rags down here to protect any paintwork nearby, like the yokes and the frame and so on. And so now, as you can see, I've got some bubbles coming up from the line, and that's good news. It means that those air bubbles are being displaced by the fluid as it flows down through the system. Just go nice and slow. If you push it too hard, you can get a big drop that exits the reservoir and goes God knows where. Can ruin your day, can ruin your paintwork. So it's got to be very, very slow and easy. And so the setup here is that I've got a clear plastic tube attached to the bleed nipple of the Brembo caliper here, going into a cup. And all I've got to do is loosen it off. And as I loosen it off, I push the lever in, like so. And then when the lever's pulled in all the way, I tighten it up. And a few air bubbles come out, which is great. When the nipple's tight again, I let go. And then repeat the process over and over again until you've got a nice firm lever and your brakes are fully bled. And it's one of them things that it's a lot easier if you've got a helper with you, but it's just me here, so we'll just have to do what we can. And now I finished bleeding the system, at least for now, and I've got a decent feel at the lever. And in fact, if I just try it out, just push it around and apply the brakes, yeah, they seem to work okay. Although of course the proof of the pudding will be when I ride the thing for real, but I'm sure it will be a great improvement over the original single pot caliper, the heavy single pot caliper that they fitted back in the 70s. One job I could do though is I could tie back the lever against the bar as far as it will go, leave it overnight or leave it for a day or two, and that helps to expel any little bubbles that are trapped within the system. They'll rise up over time and escape into the reservoir, so that's fine. Right, so next then I've got a little job to do, which is to rebuild the petcock for the tank. I noticed it was leaking when I first tested it out, so I've got a rebuild kit that's now arrived, so I'll do that soon, probably tomorrow now, because it's a bit late to do much else. Right, so that's it then for now. We'll continue tomorrow when I rebuild that petcock and maybe get the tank on the bike, and I might even ride it, you never know. So join me then tomorrow and hopefully we'll make some more good progress. And now here we are, it's the next day, and here we have the petrol tap or the petcock, and I think it's only leaking from this O-ring here where it seats onto the tank itself. Let's just remove that. And also I think this also comes off. Let's just see. It pulls off like that. So there you go. But the kit I've got, the rebuild kit here, contains three different seals. You've got the oval shaped O-ring here and these two. So I suspect the big one is going to be behind there and the small one might be behind there, or vice versa. So what I'm going to do now is just undo these screws on both sides and we'll see what's inside, and hopefully change over the seals. Even if they're not leaking, they're almost 50 years old, so I think it's a good thing just to change them, just in case. You don't want petrol leaking out in the future. So I've already started to loosen off these fasteners, and luckily they were quite easy to undo, and often that's not the case. So let's now quickly just undo these. I can't remember the last time I took apart a fuel tap, but it was a long time ago. Right, so let's see what we can find in this almost 50-year-old fuel tap. Mustn't lose those little screws. That comes off like so, and there's the tap. So how does that come out of there? I think it should just pull out. Oh, okay, so there's a little seal there, look. Little seal. Is that for that? I don't know. Will it come out? Feels like it wants to. Feel out. Oh, there you go. Right, so there's that bit, there's a seal. So I don't get that in this kit, so that'll have to stay in there. So we'll turn around now and undo this side and see what we can find. Right, so let's see what's behind this cover. Oh, okay, there's a spring and all kinds of weird stuff. I guess that's all part of the vacuum, isn't it? The vacuum system. So don't lose anything. So there's the outer cover. There's a little spring. I guess that works the vacuum system that makes sure that fuel doesn't flow down to the carbs if the engine's not running. Bit of a safety feature. But again, I don't have this seal here, which is interesting. Why not? Why don't I have that? You would have thought I would have. Will that come off there? Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, so it's all square. This kit might not be the correct kit for this particular petcock, which is unfortunate because I ordered it for my bike. Unless, of course, this isn't the correct petcock for my bike. I have no idea. I think it is, but who knows. So, yeah, that's a bit of a blow. What I might do then is put it back together again with the old seals. Perhaps that seal there might be replacing that one, but it doesn't look like it will be. And I will rebuild it. This time I'll just use the new O-ring where it fastens to the tank, because I think that's where it was leaking. But that's a bit of a blow, that, because I expected these seals to be the same as in the kit, but they're not. So we just have to actually, what I might do is I might just clean that up a little bit. It's a bit corroded here. I'll just clean it up with a bit of very fine sandpaper. Perhaps I'll pop it in my ultrasonic cleaner, just clean up a little bit. Oh, there's also an O-ring here. There's an O-ring there. Perhaps that's the O-ring. Would that be right? No, it's not, because it's too small. So I think this is the wrong kit. Looks to be the right kit because that bit's correct, but these are not correct at all. So I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a little O-ring there, look, that's sitting in a recess. So yeah, that's quite interesting. So I'll just clean that up and then we'll put it back together again, and fingers crossed, we'll hope this thing will retain petrol without leaking. But if not, I'll just have to go and find the correct O-ring set to rebuild this, or I can just buy another one. These petcocks aren't too expensive, so it's not the end of the world if I can't find the correct rebuild kit. And so now I've reassembled the petcock, as you can see. Bit of a waste of time because I didn't have the correct O-rings, but never mind. So this is a new one here, going on to here like so, and that's a seal from the petcock to the tank. So let's get this back on the tank, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't leak petrol anymore. And now with the fuel tap back on the tank and the tank back on the bike, I just put a little bit of petrol in the tank and it's fine, it's not leaking. So I think now this bike should fire up. Assuming I've got enough fuel in it. Let's see, bit of choke. Yeah. Yeah, it's running well now. Indicators work, everything works, horn works. Yeah, so everything works and I'm very happy. So I think this will be the final video at last of this restoration series of my Kawasaki Z650B. That said, of course, we're not quite finished yet, because I've still got the open questions of what's wrong with the original carbs, or rather the original one carb that doesn't seem to work, and I've not yet decided what to do about that. But for now, these carbs from my F2 can stay on the bike until we get a solution. I also need to find a non-rusty chrome cover for the starter motor. Mine's all rusty, and I did buy a brand new one, which was advertised as to fit my bike, but it doesn't fit my bike. It's for a Kawasaki Z1000. Other things I've got to do is, I've got a hole here in the tail section that somebody drilled many years ago, no doubt, God knows why, and I'm going to find some kind of emblem, some kind of badge to fill up that hole. Just haven't found anything suitable yet. But yeah, everything works now. Brakes work, indicators work, horn works, lights work, everything. The bike doesn't yet have a chain guard. I do have one, but it's a bit cracked, a bit scuffy, so I've not fitted it yet. And in fact, I don't need to, because I've not fitted the pillion pegs. So in theory, the bike can't carry a pillion, and therefore legally it doesn't need to have a chain guard. But I am looking around for a better one, or maybe I'll make one at some point in the future. So this is the end of the restoration series, but it's not the end of you seeing and we seeing this bike, because at the end of the summer, when I've got some miles on the damn thing, I will be making what will be no doubt a very biased owner's review video about the bike. What I like about it, what I don't like about it, what's gone wrong, the mods I've made, what I like about them, and so on. What does it handle like compared to a modern bike? Oh, here comes an airplane again. And things like that, you know, economy, fuel consumption, all that kind of boring stuff. Yeah, bloody airplane. However, what I can tell you now is I've weighed this bike. I was pleasantly surprised how much weight the bike's lost compared to a standard bike. Altogether, it's lost around 23 kilos or 51 pounds compared to a standard Kawasaki Z650 of the era. And the vast majority of that, more than half of that, is because I'm not using the standard exhaust system, as most people don't. Because that standard exhaust system was rotted out long ago and was very heavy, something like 35 pounds, maybe 15, 16 kilos. Whereas this system only weighs 11 pounds or around 5.5 kilos. That's a huge weight saving. I've also saved weight because I've not fitted or refitted the centre stand, because I don't tend to use them, and that saved a fair few pounds. I've also saved weight because I've got rid of the heavy rear mudguard stroke fender. I've got a little stainless steel splash guard now, ditto the rear lamp and its carrier, that was quite heavy. Ditto the front mudguards, a bit lighter, and small stuff. I mean, I was surprised that the Brembo 4-pot caliper fitted is far lighter than the original 1-pot OE caliper fitted to the bike. In fact, it's 600 grams lighter than the original, which is around a pound, just over a pound in weight, which is unsprung weight, which makes quite a difference. I've also lost maybe, I don't know, maybe 2, maybe even 3 kilos, 5 pounds or so from the rims, because the original steel chrome rims were very heavy, and these aluminium rims now are much lighter. Sadly, I didn't weigh these before I fitted them, but I do know they are probably half the weight of the originals. So yeah, the bike is a bit lighter, and I didn't even try really to lose a lot of weight. If I really tried, I'd fit different forks and modern wheels and all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't the purpose of this bike project. It was to do a quick project, keep it simple, keep it sensible, keep it fun, and not spend a fortune and spend years building the bike, and that sort of worked quite well. No doubt there are some things I wish I'd changed, I wish I'd done differently. I'm not sure what those things are, but no doubt they'll come to the fore when I ride the thing for a while. I still also need to have, which I mentioned before, the kickstart and this brake lever re-chrome, because they let the bike down, and there's a few other small things, a bit more polishing required on these engine case on this side, which I've not really done much with yet. But pretty much the bike is now complete. Phew, at last. So now I can move on to another one of my 5 project bikes that I want to complete this year, and you'll be seeing a video about that in a week or two's time, because I've already started it. So that's it for now then, and this is the end of this restoration series. But as I say, you'll be seeing it again, this bike will be seen again towards the end of the summer when I've got some miles on it and I can tell you all about it and what it's like to ride. So that's it for now then. So thanks for watching, and cheers.